Houston. Houston, we have a problem. DJ Apollo has landed. I repeat, DJ Apollo has landed.
Hear me?
You are listening to the Tales of Music and Film podcast. My name is Christian Taylor, or aka DJ Apollo, and thank you for clicking on today's episode. And we're going to be doing something a little different in this recording. I was looking back through my catalog, if you will, and I realized that it has been a good while since I've covered a TV show or miniseries on the show. I've only covered 2 shows on the podcast. The first one was when I covered the brand new Wednesday show starring Jenna Ortega, and that recording only went for about 30 minutes. And then about a few months later after that episode, I covered the TV show The Boys, and that didn't run for very long as well. So I want to try to see if I can review another show now and try to see if I can do a better job, because I feel like I'm still trying to find my footing, if you will, on how to review a TV show. So I thought today, why not give it another go? And the TV show that I picked out today, this is a very great 90s gem. I actually binged this entire show just a couple of years ago, and I haven't gotten a chance yet to really express how I feel about it. And the TV show that I want to discuss is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Now, I absolutely love this show, and I was surprised that I liked it as much as I did, because my mom, her name's Amanda, and she watched this show when it aired back in the late 90s and early 2000s, and when I was a little kid, she actually rewatched them again. So I remember some scenes from it when I was going into the show, when I binged it for myself. There were a lot of times where I remembered seeing these scenes when I was a kid, and originally, I really had, no plans to ever watch this show, but I ended up finding a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan page on Facebook that I still follow to this very day, and I got curious, so I decided to join that page, and I was just kind of curious to see what all the hype is about, because over 25 years later, the show is extremely popular, and it still, to this day, has a major impact on pop culture. And I just kept seeing all these posts from these hundreds upon thousands of people just expressing how much they loved this show on that page. And after seeing so many of them, I was just like, okay, you know what? I'm going to try it out. Let's see how it is. And I watched all 7 seasons. Now I understand what the hype is about. This show's amazing. It really is. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, she's one of the greatest female-written characters I've ever seen in my life. She is a female lead done in the best, and I mean very best way. It's great. If you guys are looking for a good show to watch, I would recommend Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I would also recommend you also check out the TV show's spinoff, Angel. And I just finished that show literally about a month ago. And I do plan on covering that show next. But I really mean this when I say that this show is really, I would recommend, man, if you have for any moms listening to this, if you have teenage daughters, I would highly recommend that you show them this show, because Buffy, in my opinion, she is a big inspiration. If you want to inspire young women, I highly recommend that you show them this show, because it's not just Buffy. There are other amazing female characters in this show, and they're some of the best I've ever seen in the TV show realm. And I remember one time, I actually saw this funny comment once where someone said that Wonder Woman has Buffy the Vampire Slayer posters in her room. Like, that statement is very true because Buffy is an amazing, female lead. And I remember one time, like, I remember back when the first Wonder Woman film came out back in 2017, and everybody was, like, making all these posts that she's the first time that we've seen a strong female lead being brought to screen. Then somebody made a meme. It's a picture of Wonder Woman during the No Man's Land scene. Then it just has Buffy at the bottom, and she's just like, huh? Like, girl, I was around 25 years before you were even a thing, you know? Like, don't even let me get started. Like, everybody was saying, oh, Wonder Woman, finally a strong female lead. Meanwhile, we've had strong female leads in films for the past, almost 35 plus years. But anyway, this show was a big impact on pop culture, even today. Like, this show just continues to get new viewers all the time, and I understand that. Like, this is a great, well-written show, but it did have its fair share of problems as well. Not a lot, and I'll get into that as we continue through this recording. So first, I'd like to give you a quick little plot summary about what the show is about. So, the plot is, Sarah Michelle Gellar takes on the role of Buffy Summers in this TV version of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, based on the film of the same title, which starred Kristy Swanson. Buffy is a Slayer, one in a long line of young women chosen for a specific mission to seek out and destroy vampires, demons, and other forces of darkness. Unlike her predecessors, Buffy establishes a group of supportive friends who aid her in her battles with evil, including Willow, Xander, and Cordelia. Her battles with evil are frequent, since Sunnydale, where Buffy and her friends live, sits atop a gateway to the realm of the demons. And that's a little quick summary of what the 7-season run of the show is about, and there is a lot more to it, man. Like, this show has, in my opinion, one of the greatest, cast of characters that I've ever seen. Some of them I didn't like very much, and I'll get into that, here in a while. But it seems to me that the interpretation that I took, from this show, its main message, it seems to me, it's about growing up. Because over the 7 seasons, we watch Buffy and most of the characters grow into young adults. Like, season 1 starts off Buffy as a sophomore in high school, and then by the end of the show, she's around 22, 23 years old, and she's now a young adult, taking on, so many responsibilities, and it's a really good, story to tell of growing up and doing the right thing, just, stuff like that. It's a great message. And the first episode of the show aired on March 10th, 1997, and the last episode aired on May 20th, 2003, so the show ended over 20 years ago. And as I said, the show has its spin-off, which is Angel, and I have learned recently that the Buffy the Vampire Slayer story did continue in the form of comic books and novels, and same thing happened with the Angel show as well. Now, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer and its spin-off Angel were both created by director Joss Whedon. Now, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the show features many elements and genres, such as supernatural, horror, coming of age, teen drama, comedy drama, action, and philosophical. And this show uses all of those elements to top-tier quality writing. And that's for sure. And the cast for this show, we have Sarah Michelle Gellar, Allison Hannigan, Nicholas Brendan, David Boreanaz, James Marsters, Charisma Carpenter, Michelle Trachtenberg, Anthony Head, Emma Caulfield, Seth Green, Christine Sutherland, Amber Benson, Elijah Dishku, and Mark Blucas. And that is about all the, I would say, the main cast of the show, or the people I think had the most screen time compared to anybody else who appeared on the show. Now, as we continue, so Buffy the Vampire Slayer is an American supernatural drama television series created by writer and director Joss Whedon. The concept is based on the 1992 film, also written by Whedon. Although they are separate and unrelated products, Whedon served as the executive producer and showrunner of the series under his production tag Mutant Enemy Productions. The series follows Buffy Summers, the latest in a succession of young women known as Vampire Slayers, or simply Slayers. Slayers are chosen by fate to battle against vampires, demons, and other forces of darkness. Buffy wants to live a normal life, but learns to embrace her destiny as the series progresses. Like previous Slayers, Buffy is aided by a Watcher who guides, teaches, and trains her. Unlike her predecessors, she surrounds herself with a group of loyal friends who become known as the Scoobies. The show primarily takes place in the fictional setting of Sunnydale, a small Southern California city that is located on a hellmouth, a portal between this reality and the next, and a convergence point of mystical energies. Because of this, supernatural creatures and beings with magical powers, both good and evil, are drawn to Sunnydale or rise from below ground to menace the town and the world. The series received critical and popular acclaim and is often listed among the greatest television series of all time. Originally airing, often reached 4 to 6 million viewers, although lower than successful shows on the Big Four networks, which were ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox. These ratings were a success for the relatively new and smaller Warner Brothers television network. Despite being mostly ignored by major award programs like the Emmys, the series was nominated for the American Film Institute Award for Drama Series of the Year. Sarah Michelle Gellar was nominated for the Golden Globe Award for Best Actress, Television Series Drama for her performance in the show, and the series was nominated 5 times for Television Critics Association Awards, winning once in 2003 for the Television Critics Association Heritage Award. The success of Buffy has led to hundreds of tie-in products, including novels, comics, and video games. The series has received attention and fandom, including fan films, parody, and academia, and has influenced the direction of other television series. Buffy was part of a wave of television series from the late 90s and early 2000s that featured strong female characters alongside shows like Charmed, Xena, Warrior Princess, Dark Angel, and Alias. The series, as well as its spin-off series Angel, and extensions therefore, have been collectively termed the Buffyverse. Now, I had no idea that the show was, that big, that it was winning, all these awards. And dude, that viewership, that's insane that the average episode was viewed by 4 to 6 million people. I think you have a successful show when you're getting that viewership. Now that we've gone through, some of these notes, I want to move into, my favorite, seasons and stuff that the show featured. So the first thing I'd like to say is, my favorite season, out of the 7 seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I'd have to say that my favorite season had to be season 5. And I think I'm in a good majority of the fan base who agree that season 5, I think, was the season that really peaked the show. Season 6 and 7 were very good, but 5, just, man, the writing in that season, especially during, the finale, that was, the peak of the writing in that show, in my opinion. The finale alone, made it my favorite season, where Now, I am going to be spoiling a lot about this show from this point forward, so if you have not watched the show yet, pause it here, go watch the show, and come back, because I don't want to ruin this for you. Like, this show is very important, and I think, to get the full experience that you deserve, go watch it. Don't just hear from me on what happens. You need to see it for yourself. So, like I said, we're going to be entering spoiler territory from this point forward. But season 5 was really good, and I just liked the story. Like, I liked the first half where Buffy and her new boyfriend Riley were together, and then we get about to episode 10, the relationship fell apart, and then Riley leaves. And that episode when Riley takes off was really sad, because like, I'm actually a Riley fan. I thought he was a great character. Like, I'll fight people on that. Like, I noticed the character gets like a lot of hate in the Buffy fan base, and I don't know why. He didn't seem that bad to me. Like, I thought it was a pretty good... I mean, out of the 3 main relationships that Buffy enters throughout the 7-season run, I think, personally, the healthiest out of the 3 was when she was with Riley. Because he was human, he was a good fighter, he was in the military, like, he could take care of himself. Like, I thought he was Buffy's, equal, Like, they were a good team. They really were. And part of me wishes that he was in the show longer. Like, he was only in the show for a season and a half. Like, I think there could have been more story to tell between them. I really do. Like, I did not like Buffy with Angel very much, like, at all. And Spike, I liked them together at certain parts, but there was a lot more toxic moments than good. And I'll get into that as we continue throughout this recording. But, yeah. Like, season 5 had, I think, the greatest stakes, in my opinion. And when they introducing, the new character of Dawn, who is now, quote, Buffy's sister, like, a lot of people dislike Dawn, and I can understand why, but I think Dawn was at her very best in season 5. I thought she was great, but I think she did get worse in the later seasons, and I have a note about that, which, again, I'll talk about when we get to it. But just the writing in the show was really good. Like, heck, season 5 opens up with Buffy, fighting Dracula, Like, that was awesome. And the finale, when she sacrifices herself to save the world, like, that was just, insane writing. And then, towards the end of season 5 was when the character Spike starts to enter his redemption arc of trying to atone, kinda, for all the horrible things that he did. I think near the end of season 5 was when he really started trying to make things right. And, like I said, man, the writing just went to the next level during that 5th season, and I think it was the strongest. Now, here's where we're going to get into some controversial territory. A good amount of the Buffy fan base says that season 6 was the worst season out of the 7 seasons. And Sarah Michelle Gellar, who played Buffy, she even said before that even she considers that season 6 was the worst season. I disagree. I actually really liked season 6 for how dark it was. I mean, that season, man, it's pure depression from beginning to end. It had somber moments, but man, so many sad things happened to the main characters throughout that whole season. Like, it's pretty sad, but it doesn't hold back in showing you just how cruel life can be to some people. I mean, the season opens up, like, Buffy has sacrificed herself, she's at peace now, she's in heaven, enjoying the afterlife, and then what happens? Her selfish friends bring her back from the dead, and they put her through so much torture in hell, bringing her back, when she was reunited with her dead mom in the afterlife. Like, she was happy, and then her selfish jerk friends. Now, I have a lot of, anger that I'm going to release here in a little bit when I get into the characters that I absolutely despise, but we'll get there. Just bear with me. So, literally, season 6 opens up with Buffy being resurrected against her will because her friends automatically assumed that she was in hell or something, and they couldn't just let her rest in peace. So they bring her back using magic that should never have been used in the first place. Like, I thought it was really good that Giles called out, the character. It's okay, let me take a few steps back. So, Willow, she's one of the main characters in the show. And during the last, from season 4 to 7, she becomes a very powerful full-time witch. And her girlfriend Tara is also a witch. And in the season 6 premiere, they find a spell that can bring Buffy back from the dead, and they commence this ritual with some of the other gang members around Buffy's grave to bring her back. And the spell pretty much works for the most part. And, Buffy tells them, oh, thanks, guys. You're right. I was in hell. Thanks for bringing me back. And then it's revealed, 7 episodes later, when Buffy reveals that she was in heaven and she was happy. And the gang put her through so much heartache and pain bringing her back. And now heaven is now closed off to her forever until she actually, passes away again. And, and the gang basically faces no punishment for that whatsoever, but I'll get to that. So literally, the show opens up with that, Buffy being taken out of heaven, and then, not long after, around episode 7 of season 6, Giles leaves and goes back to England, so now Buffy has now lost her father figure, and now she's really on her own for the first time. And then, over the course of season 6, Willow's addiction gets a lot worse. She's getting really addicted to witch magic. She loves the power that it's giving her and everything. So over the course of the season, she keeps getting worse and worse and worse until she literally starts endangering other members of the group. And then her relationship with Tara goes right down the drain. But there's more reasons to why that happens, and I'll get to that. And then the other main characters, Xander, who is in all 7 seasons, and he hooks up with an ex-demon who's now human. Her name's Anya, and she's a main character during the last 3 seasons of the show, and they were set to get married. But their wedding goes completely south, and Xander leaves her at the altar. And then towards the end of season 6, one of the fan favorite characters, Tara, is sadly killed off. And I think a lot of the fans didn't necessarily like that she was killed off. And that sent Willow into a huge depression to the point where she tries to end the world because she can't live without Tara. She literally attacks multiple members of the gang and becomes this extremely evil witch and steals every kind of energy and power that she can get her hands on. And she tries to kill Buffy. She tries to kill, Dawn, other members of the group. But Xander, of all people, finally helps her come to her senses and stops what she's doing and just grieves the old-fashioned way because she had so much sadness built up inside her from Tara's death. And that's the finale. So yeah, season 6, it's a rough ride. It really is. But I think it was the most, I would say, relatable season out of the 7 seasons because it shows you that life can go, sideways super fast. And things don't always go the way you hope they do, And I think that's important to show you. Yeah, life can suck, man. I've been there, we all have. Things don't always go our way, and that season tells us this. Now, I would argue the weakest season, in my opinion, was season 7. Because 7's writing, I had a lot of problems with. Because towards the end of season 7, it basically destroys, all the relationships that were built up during the last 7 seasons. There's one scene in particular, I'm sure most of you Buffy fans listening to this, you'll know what scene I'm talking about, but we'll get there, let's just keep going. But The finale did do an amazing job of wrapping everything up. Like, the finale was very heartfelt, very good finale. But I will say that 7 did have the weakest writing because, like, first off, Giles is, like, non-existent in this season up until the last, like, I would say 5 or 7 episodes. Now, the big reason, so Giles was a main character in the first 5 seasons. Anthony Head, who plays Giles, he did sign a contract to be a main character in all 7 seasons, but apparently there was some drama going on in his family. Like, I believe his daughters were going through stuff, and he felt like he wasn't at home enough, so he decided to take a big step back, and he had to renegotiate with Jaws to cut down his screen time for the last 2 seasons so that he could be at home more with his children. So the last 2 seasons, Giles is pushed to being more of a side character. He's still around, but not nearly as long as he used to be. And I think that did hurt the show a little bit because Giles was a very important character. But I think him leaving in Season 6 actually did help with the story that it was telling. But in Season 7, with his lack of screen time, like, it just felt like I just wish he could have been in 7 a little more, because he didn't really become a main character again up until the last, like, I would say 6 episodes. And I think that did hurt the season a lot. And I didn't like that they wrote Willow to hook up with this new toxic girl named Kennedy. She's one of... So, during the second half of Season 7, Giles brings with him the last, members of Slayers that are left. It's all these young women who have all been picked to be Slayers, but they've never been trained, and he brings all of them to Buffy's house. And I think I'm with most of the fan base when I say that I'm pretty sure most of us did not like this new group of Slayers. They were all toxic, narcissistic, whiny brats who are extremely selfish, and all they did was complain. And I'm pretty sure by the finale, most of them died. And it was just hard to care for them because all they did was complain and moan every step of the way. And then, of course, we all know that famous scene from episode 20 of Season 7, which I will get to, but it's just, they had no idea how to be loyal. And Kennedy, in my opinion, was one of the worst members of the Slayer group. She was horrible. Like, I'm pretty sure most of the fans didn't like her at all. Like, I despised her whatsoever. There was no chemistry between her and Willow. So they hook up. So Willow and Kennedy hook up during the last, 10 episodes of Season 7. Their relationship was pretty bad. The writing was just not that good between them. Like, there was just no chemistry, man. They had nothing in common. And Kennedy was just a narcissist who tried to manipulate... She, tried to manipulate and brainwash Willow into turning against her friends, who she's known for, 7 to 8 years at this point. Like, Kennedy was just the absolute worst. And of course, she's one of the few Slayers to survive the finale. It's like, oh, yippee. But apparently, I read somewhere that they separate in the comic book continuation of the story. But overall, I thought that Season 7 had the weakest writing up until the last, 5 episodes. During the finale, man, those last 3 episodes of Season 7 were so good. My favorite moment in Season 7 was when Spike gives that big inspirational speech to Buffy. And, oh my gosh, man, that scene, I wanted to cry when he confesses how much he loves her in the healthiest way imaginable, and he inspires her to get back up and keep fighting. That whole speech was just some of the best writing for Spike I've ever seen. Now, Spike, in my opinion, while we're talking about this, he was one of the best characters. My favorite characters throughout the entire 7-season run was Buffy, Giles, Spike, Riley, and Tara. They were the best characters. They had the best writing out of anybody else in the show. And, man, Spike, man, you want to talk about character growth. Spike had the biggest growth out of anyone else throughout the entire show. And I think he was at his very best in season 7 when he got his soul back. But I would argue, like in season 6, up until that one scene, which we'll get into, he was growing a lot even before he got his soul back. And that's what, in my opinion, separates him from Angel. So, another main character, at least in the first 3 seasons, was a vampire who's called Angel, and his original name was Angelus, and he was a very, very evil vampire, and he was turned back during like the 16th century. And Angelus in vampire lore, he's like one of the deadliest vampires of all time. Like, he loved torturing and maiming people. And he had himself 3 other companions in his little group. First one was Spike, and then 2 girls, Jerusalem and Darla. And the 4 of them caused a lot of havoc and mayhem for a good century or 2. But then Angelus was captured by a group of men, and they somehow found a way to give Angelus a soul. So he got a soul back, and it made him slightly human again, and it made him realize all the horrible things that he did for all those centuries, and now he couldn't kill people anymore, and he wanted to start doing good things again to make up or try to redeem himself for all the horrible things that he did. So cut to present day, and Angel was tasked with helping Buffy, and then the 2 of them end up forming a romance that lasted pretty much the first 3 seasons of the show. And then during the season 3 finale, their relationship basically just went down the drain, and there's a lot of reasons for that, which I will get into later on in the recording. But Angel leaves during the season 3 finale because the Angel spin-off show was greenlit, so that show was going on during the same time as Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So from seasons 4 to 7 of Buffy, the Angel spin-off was happening, and that show ran for 5 seasons. So Angel's redemption arc and all that continues in that show. So yeah, the first 3 seasons, I mean, Angel was an okay character. I can't say that I liked him as much as some of the other characters. He was an okay character, but like a good majority of the fan base say that Angel was Buffy's best, boyfriend that she had out of the 3 main relationships that she was in. But I disagree. I mean, their relationship was more like puppy dog love or whatever, It just seemed too cutesy schmutzy to me. And there's a big reason why I don't think the relationship worked, and I'll get into that. But anyway, so Spike, so now I'm going to get back to Spike now. So Spike was evil as well, just as bad as Angelus. But, and he shows up in season 2. And then he becomes the main character again around the midway point of season 4, where he becomes a series regular. And then around midway through season 5 is when he starts to go good again, because he starts falling for Buffy. And then during the season 5 finale, he really wins over Buffy and her friends' appreciation and trust. And then, season 6 and 7, he was now an official member of the Scooby Gang, and him and Buffy get into a relationship that lasts about the last, I would say, the last 10 episodes of season 6, and then the whole season of 7. I would say they were a couple, in my opinion. It was never official, but I would say pretty much they were. And Spike got his soul back during the season 6 finale. And what separates him, in my opinion, from Angel is that he earned his soul back. Like Angel, he was forced to get his back. Like, he had no choice or any say in the matter. But when Spike did it, he got his butt handed to him. Like, he had to go through a bunch of trials and stuff to earn his back, and he got it back on his own terms. He made a choice. I want to be the best version that I can be for Buffy because she deserves to have a good man. I'm going through with this, and he gets his soul back. So then we get Soul Spike during the entirety of season 7. And him going through all this growth made him one of my favorite characters. And just to give a quick shout out, like Buffy, like what else can I say about her? Like she had, alongside with Spike, like she had the biggest growth out of the 7-season run. And like, dude, she grew so much, and the writing for her was so good. Going from this immature teenager to being this hero young adult who saved the world multiple times, and she gave it everything she had, always protecting her friends and family every step of the way. Like, she is a hero, and I love the way they wrote her. And Giles, like, one of my favorite relationships in the show was the father-daughter dynamic between Giles and Buffy, because in the show, Buffy's parents are separated, and we see her dad, like, 2 times throughout the entire run of the show, then he's basically, like, forgotten about. And Buffy's mom sadly passes away around the, I would say, halfway point of season 5. And it's like one of the biggest, like, shocks throughout the entire run. Like, Buffy's mom's death is like one of the hardest episodes to get through. I think Sarah Michelle Gellar said that was probably like one of the hardest episodes to shoot. Because I think originally, like, Sarah didn't want Buffy's mom to die, but they went through with it anyway. But before that happens, you know, like, Buffy's father figure was Giles, and man, he is a great character. Like, those first 5 seasons, man, like, Giles was like one of the best characters, and he was alright in seasons 6 and 7, but he didn't seem like as good as he used to be, and that's another note that I'll get into later on. And like I said, Riley, I really enjoyed him in seasons 4 and 5. I thought he was a great character. Now look, the entire plot of him letting vampires feed off of him because he wanted to feel something again, because, I mean, that whole plot was really ridiculous and weird, I will admit, but I mean, he made up for it, you know. He comes back for a quick episode in season 6, and he grew. But, you know, there was a lot of factors going into why he did that. Like, Buffy was kind of using him a little bit. Like, she was really taking their relationship for granted, and she didn't realize what she had until he left in episode 10 of season 5, you know, and that sucked to see him leave like that and have them leave on bad terms. Like, that final shot of Riley in the helicopter looking all sad and depressed, like, not knowing that Buffy ran all the way there to talk to him, and she just barely missed him when he left. It's hard to get through. But I really enjoyed Riley. He was a really cool character. I thought it was pretty cool that he became a honorary member of the Scooby's gang, and his military fighting, his gun knowledge, his fighting knowledge. Like, he was a very good asset to the team for the short amount of time that he was with the group. Like, he was a badass. And Tara, oh man, Tara, she is a sweetheart. Like, Tara, when she first appears in season 4, like, I wasn't sure like what to think of her at first, but man, during seasons like 5 and 6, she was one of the best characters. You want to talk about having a heart of gold, man, that was Tara. She was a caring, amazing, just a beautiful human being, and her relationship with Dawn being like this mother figure to Dawn after her and Buffy's mom passes away, like, Tara really took up the responsibility of being a good role model for Dawn, and I loved the friendship between them. And I will say, the relationship between Tara and Willow, it was, in my opinion, one of the best romances throughout the entire show. At least in seasons 5 and some of season 6, it was a very healthy relationship, and it was very groundbreaking, you know. I'm pretty sure Buffy the Vampire Slayer was like one of the first big shows to feature a lesbian couple in the forefront. Like, I don't think any show dared to ever have a gay relationship on screen. That was like non-existent, and I think this show was like one of the first times that we saw that, and it was groundbreaking, you know. Very big for the time, and I thought the relationship was written extremely well. I really do. It holds up even today, It was it was a very good, healthy relationship. And Tara was just just an outright good person. Like, you can't dislike her. The minute she shows up, like, she was in the show for 3 seasons, 4, 5, and 6, and she was one of the best characters. She really was. She was a good character. And when she dies in season 6, man, like, it's like one of the most saddest deaths in the entire show. I stand with that comment. Like, her death was horrible, and it was just so out of nowhere, you know? When you witness it happen, your jaw just drops. Like, did that really just happen? You know? It's just, oh, it was so sad. She's one of the saddest death scenes. Like, one of the saddest deaths. Like, if I had to say top 3 saddest deaths for me was Tara's death, Buffy's mom dying, and when Angel killed Giles' girlfriend, Jenny Calendar, back in season 2. Like, in my opinion, those are like the top 3 like saddest death scenes, you know, in the entire 7-season run. Like, those deaths were just horrible, and those characters were all genuinely good human beings who always tried doing the right thing, and they did not deserve to go out like that, you know? Just, it makes you angry and sad all at once. But yeah, Buffy, Giles, Spike, Riley, and Tara were the best characters in the entire show, in my opinion anyway. Now we're going to be getting into the territory where I want to vent for a second. So now look, I've been praising this show for the last 40 minutes, and I love the show to death, but it did suffer from some pretty bad writing at certain points, and most of the bad writing, in my opinion, it just centered around how they wrote some of the characters. And when I was watching this show, there were just some characters that I just could not like, no matter how hard I tried. And some of these are like fan favorites, but for me, I just can't stand these characters. I want to go into who in my opinion are the top 3 worst characters in the entire show. And I got lists of reasons why I think this. So the first character that I want to talk about is Xander. Now, I'm just going to start by saying I think Xander was just the absolute worst. During all 7 seasons, like, I should have made a tally list of the amount of times I wanted to break this guy's nose. The amount of things that he does throughout the 7 seasons is so ridiculous. Like, he is a toxic friend towards Buffy over and over, and he backstabs her over and over again throughout all 7 seasons. Like, there were so many times where it's like, Xander's lucky that I was, if I was friends with Xander, like, I would have cut ties with him after, like, season 3. The amount of horrible things that he gets away with, and the things that he does to Buffy, like, any other person would have ditched him a long time ago. Like, this guy is one of the most horrible friends I've ever seen in my life. I disliked him all the way through. Part of me actually kind of wished that they'd stuck with the original plan of killing him off in season 7, because I hated this guy from beginning to end. There were so many times I wanted to teleport into that show and sock him in the face. So I have 8 reasons here. So it's like, the thing, like, you know, seasons 1 and 2, you know, Xander is very obsessive, in my opinion, towards Buffy. He wants to date her super bad, and he goes after her multiple times, and she tells him no, and of course that makes him angry, and then he gets all jealous at Angel when he starts dating her. Like, what, was I not good enough for you, Buffy, huh? Just being a freaking moron. And then, you know, he gets in Buffy's business, like, all the time, and getting into her personal life and all that when it's none of his business. And it's like, meanwhile, you have Willow, right? And, like, these two are childhood best friends. Like, during the pilot, when Xander and Willow are introduced, you find out that these two are childhood best friends, and Willow's had a crush on Xander for many, many years now, and she tries to make moves on him, or at least give him hints like, hey, I want to be more than friends, and Xander just completely ignores all of them, and he's a complete jerk towards her, and you're just kind of like, why are you two friends again? Because I've seen more of Willow and Xander being toxic towards one another than being good friends, you know? Like, Xander even goes out of his way to play mind games with Willow a couple of times, and it's just like, Xander, you're just an unlikely person. You're unlikable. And during the season 2 finale, like, he straight up, so I'll explain to you what's happening. So in season 2, when Buffy and Angel hook up, Angel finally, for the first time in his life, experiences a true moment of happiness, and there is a consequence because of this. When he got his soul back, there was a catch. If he ever was to experience a moment of pure happiness, the soul would be taken away from him and he would convert back to Angelus. So after Buffy and him hook up, literally right after, he turns back into Angelus and becomes full-on evil again, and he teams up with Spike and Jerusalem to start, maiming and torturing people and trying to end the world. And during the season 2 finale, Jenny... towards the end of season 2, Jenny, very important character in season 2, she figures out a way to get Angel his soul back, and she hides the information somewhere in her office, but then Angel kills her, and then Willow finds the information, and during the season 2 finale, she's trying to restore Angel's soul, and Xander knows this, and he's tasked with, telling Buffy what they're getting ready to do. And when he runs into her, you know what he does? He withholds the information and tells Buffy that, Willow and I, we want you to kick his ass and stop him from ending the world. So Buffy is going into this battle thinking that there's no way to save Angel. While meanwhile, Willow is working her butt off to get Angel's soul back, and Xander knows this, yet he doesn't tell her this. You know why? He's jealous of Angel and Buffy's relationship, so he purposely withholds information from her, which leads to her killing Angel, and he gets sent back to hell. The minute that happened, I had no respect for Xander, and the audacity of this jerk, literally in the season 3 finale, so literally, after Buffy kills Angel, she leaves town. Like, her mother kicks her out of the house because of, because in the season 2 finale, Buffy tells her mom that she's a Slayer, and it leads to them getting into this giant argument, and her mom kicks her out of the house and tells her not to come back, which was a very mean thing for a mom to say to her daughter, never come back in this house again. It's like, oh, well, thanks a lot there, Joyce. Mom of the year over here. So, season 2 finale, Buffy really thinks that she has nothing left. So, literally after she kills Angel, she packs her stuff up and leaves town on a bus. That is Xander's fault. And literally in season 3, when Buffy comes back home, Xander and Willow both give her the cold shoulder during, the first half. And there's literally a scene where, they're having a party at Buffy's house, which she did not agree to, by the way. And then Xander, in the middle of the party, stops everything and tells her, see how you feel right now? All miserable and sad? That's how we felt during the whole summer while you ran away. Dude, I'm not kidding you. I wanted a bus to drive into the house and run over Xander. There are so many times, Xander, there is no love or compassion in your body. There were so many times I wanted Xander to die. Like, you are one of the worst friends a person can ever ask for. Buffy legitimately should have cut ties with him right then and there. But no, she stays friends with him throughout the rest of the season. And he does more things that are just as bad. And keep in mind, when he lied to Buffy or withheld that information about Angel, Xander never faces any consequences for it. None. He gets away with it. Now, granted, I think he did get karma towards the end of the season because the wedding with him and Anya went down the drain. So I think that was good old-fashioned karma doing its thing, but it wasn't enough. Like, Xander, you're a piece of crap. You don't deserve love. I don't give a crap that you come from an abusive family. That does not make anything that you have done okay. That's no excuse. And on top of that, he leaves Anya at the altar because the man is a straight-up coward. And he helps in bringing Buffy back from the dead. And he put her through so much pain to bring her back. And again, he faces basically no consequences for it whatsoever. Except maybe Anya and the wedding not going well. But still, that wasn't enough either. And he helps kick Buffy out of the house. So, a main theme with these three characters is one of the things that I've listed with all three of them is that they all helped kick Buffy out of the house. And that scene I will get to momentarily. And yeah, those are the 8 reasons why I dislike Xander. Now, the next character that I want to get into here is Willow, a character who I've mentioned to multiple times. Now, Willow was just as evil and pathetic as Xander. I did not like Willow whatsoever. Now, I made a post about her on the Buffy fan page, and a lot of comments that I got on there was saying that I was being too unreasonable towards her, saying that I should have been more understandable and that people make mistakes. And I'm just like, yeah, there's making mistakes, but the things that Willow does throughout the 7-season run, like, she does some pretty horrible things that go way past the realm of, like, mistakes. Some things, okay, I can kind of understand and try to be more forgiving towards her, but some of the things that she does, I'm just like, why is she not facing any consequences for this, And, like, she started off kind of decent when the show started, but she got worse as the show progressed. Like, again, season 3, when Buffy comes home, she gives her the cold shoulder, and her excuse is, oh, sorry, Buffy, you just straight up left me. It's gonna take me some time for me to talk to you again. And I'm like, Willow, are you kidding me? And, well, granted, she doesn't know that Xander lied to her, but it's like, Willow, you need to be there for her. You're her friend. She's all alone. Why do you think she ran away in the first place? Like, she lost hope. She's depressed. Her mom wants nothing to do with her at this time. Like, why are you ignoring her and not talking to her? Like, yeah, what a great friend you are, Willow. Top of the line. Amazing friend. And, like, in season 3, she hooks up with a guy named Oz, great character, Oz is played by Seth Green. Great actor, and Oz is a fun character. Liked him a lot. He wasn't in the show for very long, sadly. He was in the show for about a couple of seasons. Seasons 3 and 4, he was a main character, but Willow cheats on him with Xander, and Xander cheats on Cordelia with Willow. Like, these two are not good people to date because they cheat. And she basically, like, Willow doesn't really seem to face, like, she faces consequences for it. Like, her relationship with Oz goes down the drain, and then she tries to reconnect with him. They somewhat rekindle their relationship, but then Oz ends up leaving town during episode 6 of season 4, and there were some reasons. Like, Oz did cheat on Willow a little bit as well, So these two just weren't a good mix for each other. So Oz leaves to go figure things out, and it left Willow completely heartbroken. And Buffy's there for her during the whole process of her grieving Oz taking off, when Willow couldn't have done the same for Buffy. It's a very one-sided relationship. Like Buffy, Willow, and Xander are like the main trio throughout the entire 7-season run, and the three of them were just very toxic friends. Like, Willow and Xander, they're very one-sided friends. Like, Buffy does all these things for them, but they barely do anything for her. And it's really infuriating. And again, Willow helps bring Buffy back, putting her through so much pain and suffering. And here's the thing, here's the kicker. When the gang finds out that she was in heaven the whole time and they ripped her out of it, Willow legitimately, she wanted to use a memory spell on Buffy to erase her memories of heaven. And, you know, Tara, rightfully so, calls out Willow, like, what the hell is wrong with you? You know? Like, finally, someone calls out Willow on being a terrible person. It's about freaking time. And on top of that, we find out during season 6, Willow was using magic to wipe Tara's memory, because Willow and Tara were getting into arguments because Tara found out that Willow has been getting very addicted to magic, and she's becoming a more narcissistic human as the days progress. And Willow has been using this spell to wipe Tara's memories of all the arguments they've been having. So Willow is legitimately brainwashing her own girlfriend to make her the version she wants her to be. Do I even need to explain, like, how messed up that is? Like, I don't think the show went through enough just trying to convey just how messed up this is. Like, Tara calls her out. Like, Tara figures it out that Willow's been using memory spells. And Tara should have left Willow. Like, the minute Tara found out that Willow was using memory spells on her, she should have left. She should have broken up with Willow and fled the state. Like, that is so messed up, I can't even put into words. And the show is kind of like, oh, well, yeah, that's wrong. But like, no, that is way past wrong. That is extremely weird and messed up. That is wrong. And, you know, and then literally the following episode, Willow tries to use another spell to wipe Tara's memory permanently or something like that, but it goes south and the entire gang ends up losing all their memories. But again, their memories get restored during the episode, during the end of the episode. And then that was the last straw. Tara leaves Willow, rightfully so, because she's a monstrous human being, and takes off and leaves the group for a little bit. It's like, yeah, Tara, you don't deserve this. Like, Tara deserved a way better person than Willow. Willow's a piece of crap. And then Willow continues to get addicted to magic even more. And she almost gets Dawn killed. So, during, like, the halfway point of season 6, maybe even later than that, Willow gets so addicted to magic, like, she takes Dawn out to go to the movies, but then, you know, Willow makes one last stop at this dealer who was giving her, you know, more magic stuff, and then she gets super high, if you will, on the witch drugs, if you will, and she's driving the car and she ends up crashing it, and Dawn almost dies because they get attacked by, you know, creatures. Then Buffy and Spike have to come in and save them, and Spike helps Dawn, and then Willow's like, Dawn, are you okay? And then Dawn straight up slaps Willow in the face, and I wanted to high-five Dawn for that. It's like, yeah, Willow, that's what you deserve for being a monstrous human being. And then, like, you know, Willow's on the ground bawling her eyes out because she finally realizes what a horrible person she's been throughout the 6th season. And Buffy, I'm telling you, man, Buffy proceeds to help her, you know, get back on her feet, and they take her home. I'm like, Buffy, you should have left her there. Willow should have been left there in the pathetic state that she was in. Like, this is her fault. Let her fix it. Like, she's done nothing to help you. Nothing. How many times has she been a bad friend towards you? Like, you should have just left her there. She should have. I cannot believe Buffy helped her. And guess what Willow does in the next season? Kicks Buffy out of her own house. It's like, Willow, you are a piece of crap. If Tara was there, she would be absolutely infuriated with you. Like, you're a horrible friend. You're horrible. And on top of that, during the season 6 finale, after Tara was killed, Willow goes on this giant, enemy, villain arc. She becomes a villain. She sucks up, all this knowledge from all the books and becomes, this giant, powerful witch demon. And she literally tries to end the world. She tries to kill Buffy, Dawn, Anya, Xander, and she faces really no consequences for it whatsoever. But thankfully, Xander, another horrible character, saves her, helps her come to her senses and realizes what a horrible person she's been, and finally grieves over Tara's death. And then apparently Giles takes her to England and helps her get her mind, cleaned up and everything. And then she just comes back home and everybody treats her like nothing happened. It's like, if I was Dawn, I'd be like, Willow, I don't want to be anywhere near you. You tried to kill me. You almost got me killed. You attacked my sister. I'm sorry. Things can't just go back to how they were. I don't want to be friends with you. You've shown time and time again that I can't trust you. That's what should have happened, Willow got off pretty much scot-free. She tried to end the world, and she tried killing her friends. And it's just... And then she gets the help she needed, and then she's given the green light to go back to normal. And it's like, that's not how that works. Do you realize the amount of baggage that you're carrying? And it's just like, oh, alright, well, good to have you back, Willow. How you doing? I know you tried to kill me just last year, but hey, how you doing? It's just like, no, that's not how that works. Not at all. Just, man, Willow was just the worst. I did not like her at all, man. Her and Xander just, man, they were just toxic friends towards Buffy time and time again. I just don't understand why so many of the fans like them. They just weren't good people. Now, look. This is just my opinion. If you like Xander and Willow, that's great. Everybody have your own opinion. I always defend that. Have your own take. If you like these characters, that's fine. I'm just expressing why I don't. And as we continue, now we're going to be getting into my third least favorite character, and that was Anya. I was never really a fan of her to begin with. When we first see Anya, she was just one of those one episode, villains, and then during season 4, I think it was, she got her powers taken away, so now she's pretty much just a regular human being. And then she becomes the series regular from that point forward. And then she gets into a relationship with Xander, and they're a couple pretty much throughout the rest of the show, from seasons 4 to 7. They never did, rekindle their romance in season 7. I think they were about to, but then Anya was killed during the show's finale, so I don't know. But I was never really a big fan of her. I never did like the relationship between her and Xander. I just thought them as a couple was very weird. In season 4, she has this very unhealthy and weird attraction towards Xander. I'm not kidding you. You want to know how they hook up? Xander is in his bedroom, right? In the basement of his parents' house. She walks down there. They start talking for a little bit. And then she's just like, I have this attraction towards you. And then she literally just undresses right in front of them. And then they seal the deal, if you know what I mean. And that's how it starts. I'm like, okay, that has got to be one of the weirdest, strangest ways I've ever seen a relationship start. I mean, it's just why was she so attracted to him? Why? I don't understand. I mean, it's the two of them have sex over and over again, and then it's just okay, I guess we're a couple now. it just seemed like she had this very weird attraction towards him. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, this is a very weird take on a couple. And like, she got very naggy towards him as the show progressed. Like in season 5, I believe it was, she kept getting angry at Xander for not proposing to her when they've only been together for like, what, a year or something? I mean, it's like, Anya, my parents dated for 6 years before they got married. You know, like she was nagging at him, are you going to propose to me? I want to get married. You know, and it's like, meanwhile, you have Xander who's trying to get his life figured out. Like, he's trying to get a job together, trying to buy a house for them. He's trying to do all these things for her. And meanwhile, she's getting all angry at him because he won't propose to her. And it's like, Anya, can you stop for 1 second and look at the bigger picture here? You know, it's just, she got pretty annoying sometimes. And she goes evil again after the wedding went wrong in season 6. And she literally tries to kill Buffy. And then she's just automatically allowed to be a Scooby member again during the end of season 6, like nothing happened. Like this, she tried to kill Buffy, and it's just like, oh, I'm just forgiven? Oh, okay. I'm not gonna face any consequences? Oh, well, ain't that just dandy, you know? And then it's just like not long after the wedding went south, like she moved on from Xander like pretty quickly. Like she had a one-night stand, you know, with Spike, and then, you know, Xander finds out about it, and then he rightfully so gets angry at her a little bit. I mean, granted, he left her, and so it's like, I can see both sides. Like, Xander, I can understand he's kind of angry that she moved on very quickly, but at the same time, it's like, Xander, that's her choice. Like, you left her at the altar, like, you are equally to blame for this happening. And of course, we get right back to that scene of Anya, you know, telling Buffy that she didn't earn any of her powers and her gifts, and Anya proceeds to back the gang up and kicking her out of the house. And it's just like, dude, the minute Anya said the words, you did not earn your powers, like, I wanted nothing to do with her. From that point forward, my hatred for her skyrocketed, and when she died in the season finale, man, like, I didn't really care that much. I'm like, yeah, that's what you get, Anya. You don't talk to my girl Buffy like that. You're a piece of crap, you know, friend. And the fact she let you back into the group after you tried to kill her just astonishes me. Like, man, the minute those words came out of her mouth, like, I disliked her for the rest of the show. Like, what a piece of crap friend. And her kicking Buffy out of the house, like, oh, you didn't earn your powers, even though you've, like, Anya, Buffy has died twice. She sacrificed everything she had to save the world multiple times. And you're gonna stand there, like, just the nerve to tell her you did not earn your powers and your gifts. Like, Anya, you know what you didn't deserve? You know what you didn't earn? Her friendship. You didn't deserve it. Your relationship with Xander, your friendship with Buffy, you didn't earn those. You weren't worthy. You're not worthy of any friendships at all. You're a terrible person. There's no love in your heart whatsoever. Nothing. You're a terrible friend, a terrible companion. You're one of the worst allies a person could ever ask for. How about that? You know, just, my gosh, I cannot put into words just like how angry those lines made me. I was so infuriated. So as you can see, that one listing helped kick Buffy out of the house. You know, that's listed with all 3 of these characters. So those were the 8 points why I disliked Anya. So now that we've talked about my least favorite characters, I want to give a quick little mention about something. So my favorite episode, so I want to talk about this just right quick. My favorite episode in the entire show was season 4, episode 10, Hush. Like, dude, that whole episode was awesome. So the plot for this episode, Hush, is that these twin creatures who are super tall and they wear suits, they used this magic box to strip Sunnydale's entire population. They lose their voices. They can't speak to one another. So Buffy and the team have to spend the entire episode like communicating with writing messages to one another, and you can hear like sounds and stuff still, but there's no voices. And the gang had to figure out a way to stop these creatures and get everybody's voices back, to all the people in Sunnydale. And this was the episode where we met Tara for the first time. And it was a very creative episode. And one of my favorite scenes in the entire show was when Giles gives the slideshow presentation in one of the college classrooms, explaining who these villains are and what they plan on doing, and how to get their voices back. It was very well done, and it was a very interesting take. Those twin creatures were one of my favorite threats that the gang ever faced. They were very cool. Now, my least favorite episode in the entire show was Empty Places, which was season 7, episode 19. And the reason for this is because that episode features the worst scene in the entire 7-season episode. No. The entire 7-season run of Buffy, the worst scene ever was when the entire Scooby Gang team up on Buffy and force her to leave her own house. Now, for all you Buffy fans, like, I see people, post on the fan page about this scene over and over again. Even I've done it. I can't put in the words. First off, this scene makes no sense. Like, within 5 minutes, those 7 seasons of relationships that was built between Xander, like the friendships with Willow, Xander, Giles, Dawn, all of them, single-handedly were all turned to dust within those 5 minutes. After everything they went through, they all turn their backs on her just because one of their missions didn't go according to plan. Like, they all take turns. Giles, her father figure, the man who has stood up for her time and time again, turns his back on her. Xander and Willow, her friends, turn their back on her. Her own sister, Dawn, who she died for in the season 5 finale, Dawn turned on her. Told her, like, Dawn, just the nerve. Dawn walks up to her and she goes, "Sorry, this is my house too." Dawn, I wanted Buffy to kick your ass in that moment. Like, you are a teenaged little brat. And just the nerve of her to say that after Buffy literally died protecting you, Buffy has been there for you over and over again. And that's what you do to her. Just from a writing standpoint, it makes no sense. Like, why are the characters acting like this? Like, you guys just destroyed all the relationships that were built. They're all meaningless. Like, if I was Buffy, like, she eventually... Okay, so she leaves the house. Spike finds her. He gives her that big speech that I mentioned earlier, and she comes back to the gang, right? Here's what should have happened. The minute she walked into that house to meet them all again, here's the set of words that should have came out of her mouth. Listen up, guys. This is it. We are going to face this last threat, and once this is over, I'm going my own way. You all have made your choices. You backstabbed me, you threw me out, and you made your point clear that you don't care about me and that my friendship with you all mean nothing. The minute this battle is over with, I'm cutting ties with every single one of you, and I'm never seeing any of you ever again. That is what Buffy should have said to all of them. The nerve on all of you to do this to me after everything that I've done for you. You guys are horrible human beings, and I can't believe that I stood by you for so long. Guess it was all for nothing, but thank you for showing me your true colors. I appreciate that. Something along those lines is what should have came out of Buffy's mouth. Like, you guys are not worth fighting for. You showed your true colors. But I will admit, what followed after they kicked her out of the house is one of my favorite scenes in the entire show. When Spike comes back, like, he's like, wait, where's Buffy? And then Willow proceeds to tell him this huge lie. Oh, well, we all thought that Buffy could use a break, so we politely asked her to leave for a little bit. Then Spike's like, oh, been practicing that speech for a while, have you? Like, Spike saw right through Willow's bullshit. And then Spike just goes on this huge, rant that I'm pretty sure all of us viewers were also feeling. Like, you arrogant piece of crap people, who the heck do you think you are? The nerve. She has died and helped you over and over again. I can't believe this, And then she's like calling them all out for being terrible people, And the fact, I wish there could have been an additional moment of him looking at Dawn, right? And him saying, I cannot believe, out of all these people, I can't believe you're the one who did this. After everything she did for you, Dawn, I can't even put into words like how disappointed I am in you. Like, of all these people, I never would have expected you would be on this team and kicking her out of her house, And then he rightfully calls them all out. Then he walks out like a boss to go find her. And you know what he should have said before he walked out that door? Now, excuse me, I'm going to go find a real Slayer. And then walked out the door. That would have been the epic walkout, And the gang faces no consequences whatsoever for kicking Buffy out of the house. She comes right back like nothing ever happened. Then they're just talking like normal friends again. Like, hey, how you doing? Ready to kick some ass? And it's like, no, there should have been consequences for that. I just don't understand, like, what was the point of that scene then? Like, I failed to see, like, that scene made no sense. Everybody acted completely out of character. It's a complete stupid scene. I just don't get the point of, like, was it just to create some drama or something? Like, I genuinely don't understand. But anyway, that's enough of me talking about that. But yeah, it feels good to finally get, like, all that rage out, because that whole scene was just ridiculous and just outright dumb. But now we're going to take a quick little segment here. I just want to go through, I made a little list here that I want to give a brief little mention to, just talking about my favorite scenes throughout the entire show. So my favorite moments are Buffy killing Angel in the season 2 finale. That was probably another big, like, emotional moment, Like, it's sad. Like, Angel gets his soul back right as Buffy stabs him with that sword, and a portal opens up and he gets dragged back to hell. Like, it's pretty horrible. Like, Buffy literally, like, stands there bawling her eyes out because she had to sacrifice the man she loved to save the world, But again, Buffy did not earn those powers. Remember that. She didn't earn them. And then the next one was when Jenny Calendar was killed. So Jenny, she first shows up in one of the episodes in season 1. She's one of the teachers at the high school that Buffy attends. And you find out she's more than that. Like, she knows about the Hellmouth, the creatures and everything, and all the stuff going on in Sunnydale. And in season 2, her and Giles hook up, and they have a really good relationship. And towards the end of season 2, Jenny finds a way to restore Angel's soul. Angelus learns about this, and he chases her throughout the school building, and he snaps her neck and kills her. And then he proceeds to leave her dead body in Giles' bed in the house, and Giles finds her, and he is just completely shocked. And then he goes after Angelus and tries to kill him, but fails, and Buffy has to save Giles' life. Like, Jenny's death was very, very horrible. Like, it's sad. Like, she was genuinely trying to help and get, Angel back. And she was just a well-written character. I liked her a lot. Kind of wish she was in the show more, But her death scene was very impactful. And I don't think Giles ever got over it. Like, Giles doesn't get with anybody for the rest of the show. He has this on and off relationship with this other girl that we see a couple of times. Her name escapes me, but he never officially got into another romance with anybody for the rest of the show. I really did enjoy the season 3 finale when Buffy and the gang graduate high school, and there's this big finale of them battling their principal, who turns, no, not their principal, they battle Sunnydale's mayor, who turns into this giant snake creature, and Buffy and the gang lead it inside the high school, and they blow up the entire high school building to kill the creature. It's pretty crazy. It's like, that's one hell of a high school graduation. It's just like the entire school building gets destroyed. It was pretty crazy. And another scene that I really enjoyed was Buffy and Riley finally kissing for the first time in season 4, episode 10, in the episode Hush that I talked about earlier. I really enjoyed that a bit, it was building up for a while, Like, Buffy and Riley's relationship, I really enjoyed it. I really did. I thought they were a great couple. And I was pretty sad that it was kind of short-lived, but they were great together. And Buffy's death in the season 5 finale, definitely in the top 5 moments. Like the scene of the gang finding her body, and then Spike just falls down on the ground, just bawling his eyes out because he thinks that he failed her. And then all the gang standing there crying, and Giles is the closest one to her body, just staring at her. Like, his worst fear, like you find out in season 1, is that Giles' worst fear is failing to be Buffy's teacher. And I feel like in that moment he was probably looking at her like, I failed you. My worst fear has come true, It was just a big moment, that, she gave her life to save the world again. And I'm pretty sure Giles probably blamed himself a little bit for her death. And then, now, you may be surprised, one of my favorite moments was when Xander saved Willow in the season 6 finale, where he gives that long speech saying that even after everything you've done, I still love you. And he gets closer to her, and she keeps hurting him. He keeps getting back up and keeps walking towards her until he's able to hug her. And then all the dark magic and all that goes away, and the real Willow comes back. I actually really enjoyed that moment. I really did. It was like one of Xander's only moments where I genuinely liked him. It was one of the only times, and it was beautifully written, and I just really enjoyed it. Now, the gang standing up for Tara in season 5, when her family tries to order her to go back home with them, and Buffy's like, no, Tara's staying here with us. We're her family now. Then everybody stands up and walks and forms a group in front of them. And Tara smiles, and her family just walks off and leaves the building. Like, that was an awesome moment of friends, banding together to stand as one. That was an amazing scene. And this small moment in the season 6 premiere, where towards the very end, the final scene is Buffy and Spike talking, and then Buffy, because she trusts Spike so much that he's the only one that she tells about that she was not in hell, she was actually in heaven. She was warm, happy, at peace, and the gang put her through so much pain and suffering, bringing her back. And she tells all of this to Spike, and he's just sitting there with this look of pure horror on his face, realizing what they just did to her. And it was a very brief scene, but man, that whole moment, it was so sad, that she was finally at peace, only to be brought back to suffer more, It's sad, and Spike fully understands what she's going through. And then Spike getting his soul back in the season 6 finale, like, that was awesome. Like, when he was going through all those trials, like, just getting hurt, getting his butt kicked, he just kept getting back up. Like, he earned that soul, man. He earned it fair and square. And to see him fighting to be a better person, it's like, Spike, this is why you're my favorite character. Again, can't say it enough, man. He had the biggest growth in the entire show, more than anybody. And Joyce's death. So Buffy's mother's name is Joyce, and she was in the show from season 1 to season 5, and she was a great character. She was always that person that Buffy could go back to for advice and help. And her death in the season 5 mid-finale was one of the saddest moments in the entire show. Like, the entire gang loved her. Like, she treated all the Scoobies like her own children, you know? So when she died, it hurt everybody. And her death scene, like, you know, Buffy just, you know, comes downstairs, finds her lifeless body just laying on the couch, and she tries everything in her power to get her back, but she can't do it. Like, she's gone. The paramedics show up, and they confirm, you know, that she's dead. Then Giles shows up right after, and then comforts Buffy when she fully grasps, oh my gosh, my mom is dead, you know? And, like, Sarah Michelle Gellar, this was her best acting. Like, she deserved an Emmy Award for her acting. And, like, that scene alone should have gotten her an Emmy nomination and win. Her acting in that scene was the top of the line acting. Like, she was amazing in all 7 seasons. But that scene in particular, when she finds Joyce's body, that was an Emmy winning performance. Amazing. Some of the best acting she did, as far as I'm concerned. And then the scene that I mentioned earlier, one of my favorites, is when Spike stands up for Buffy in the house, calling everybody out for the horrible thing that they did. And then another favorite moment of mine was when Giles makes his epic return in the season 6 finale. So the scene is, you know, Dark Willow is attacking everybody at the magic shop, and Buffy's down. Willow is just too powerful, and she's like, there's nobody on this earth who can stop me. Then this power shows up out of nowhere, and it hits her against the wall. She gets knocked down. She looks up, and then Giles is standing right there in the doorway. Then you hear the words, I'd like to test that theory. Then it just cuts to black and the credits start rolling. Dude, that was like one of the most badass entrances in the entire show. It's like, Giles, I have missed you so much. Like, that epic return, man, you're just like, yeah, my boy Giles is back, you know? It's just, oh, man, what an entrance. So good. And then another scene that I mentioned earlier was Spike's big speech to Buffy. Now, for me, I just want to point out, the reason why that speech was so impactful, it was like a poetry poem. So you find out, Spike, when he was human, he liked writing poems, but nobody liked his work. His mom didn't like it very much. The girl that he loved didn't like it at all. Like, nobody appreciated any of his poems or any of the stuff that he wrote. He said a full poem to Buffy, straight from the heart, nothing written. He said the most genuine, loving thing that he could possibly say. And it was one of the most poetic things I've ever heard in the entire show. And when he says that to Buffy, she literally has tears coming out of her eyes. And that whole moment, it's beautifully written, poetic, you know, and then I like the scene that follows where she asks if he can lay beside her in bed. There's nothing sexual about this. They just lay in bed together, and he holds her, and she just looks into his eyes. And they just lay there like that for who knows how long. That was the biggest love moment I've ever seen in the entire show. It was, I would argue that moment was the most imminent thing in the entire show. And they were just looking into each other's eyes, you know? That's it. And holding one another, and it's the most imminent thing. And Spike's death scene in the finale was like, he gave his life, you know, to save the world. And that last exchange between them, where Buffy finally confesses that she's loved him for a good amount of time, and of course he tells her, no you don't, but thanks for saying it, you know, kind of a callback to what, because I'm pretty sure back in like season 5 when he first confessed that he loved her, Buffy's like, no you don't, you don't know what love is, So I think that was kind of like a callback of what she said to him. And then, she holds his hand, one last time, and then she runs off, and his entire body gets burned alive, but he helps save the world, and the entire city of Sunnydale is destroyed. And it was Spike's ultimate moment, It was amazing. And Buffy's and the rest of the gang are standing there looking at the giant crater where Sunnydale once sat. And Buffy realizing that it's finally over. Like, she's sad that Spike's gone, but she's also hopeful for the future. For the first time in her life, her and her friends and her sister Dawn can now live a normal life. It's the sun's rising. It's a beautiful new day. What am I going to do next? It was a very hopeful, inspiring, finale. And I like that moment during the finale where Willow awakens all the Slayers around the world. That was a very cool moment too. And that last shot of Buffy looking out at the distance about her future and everything, and then it cuts to black, that was the best way the show could have ended. When the credits were rolling, I was just sitting there like, my gosh, like what a journey this was. And it all came together. I was like replaying everything that happened the last 7 seasons. And nothing, like everything was answered, Like the show could not have ended any better. It was a perfect closing to this amazing story. Now, the last thing that I want to get into here's the list. I know that I've been mentioning time and time again throughout the recording. So as I mentioned earlier, I love this show to death, but there's a lot of things in this show that just in my opinion didn't age well. There's some dated, stuff in this, and I'll get into it. The first thing that I want to talk about here is the relationship between Angel and Buffy. Now, I never supported them as a couple, and the main reason for this is that, now look, this is probably me looking into the show way too much, but okay, I want you to think about this for a second. So, in season 2 of Buffy, she's a 16-year-old high schooler, and Angel, around this time, he's like 300 plus years old. And we find out he was turned into a vampire when he was like in his mid-20s or something. So you have a 26-year-old man who is, 200 plus years old at this point, who has hooked up with a 16-year-old teenage child. You know what I mean? Like, this girl is a teenager dating a man who's 200 plus years old. Like, that is not okay, like, at all. And the show doesn't do anything. Like, that is just outright disgusting. Like, say what you will about Spike. Like, he's 300 plus years old. But, at least he dated Buffy when she was in her early 20s. She was at the appropriate age. Angel didn't do that. He slept with her when she was 16 years old. Like, that is extremely, extremely messed up and wrong. That did not age well, in my opinion, at all. They had a very unhealthy relationship. It just wasn't good. And I'm glad that Joyce finally called Angel out on it. Like, you guys are not as good a couple as you seem. And then Angel finally realized, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't be dating her after all. Then he finally cut ties with her, and that was the best decision he ever could have made, and he went his own way. That was the best thing. Like, I'm glad Angel finally realized, yeah, this is not gonna work. Never should have started. But yeah, their relationship, in my opinion, just didn't age well based off of that little tad bit of information alone. And the next thing I want to get into here, this scene just didn't make any sense to me. Towards the end of season 6, Spike tries to rape Buffy in her house bathroom. And the scene was just so, like, out of nowhere. Like, everybody who's watched that episode were all like, that scene never should have seen the light of day. Like, I agree. I have no idea what Joss and the team were thinking by adding that scene in there. Like, it's horrific and very, very... It's just bad. And I'm actually genuinely surprised that that scene was allowed to air on television. You know, like, I'm fully convinced, like, dude, there are some scenes in this show that there is no way that they would be allowed to air on TV today. I'm surprised they were allowed to air back then. This scene was very hard to watch. Like, I'm not kidding you. A few seconds in, I fast forward through it. Like, I can't watch this. This is horrible, you know? I can't watch this. Like, the actor who played Spike, James, he's actually went on and said, like, that scene still haunts him to this very day. Like, he had to go through therapy after they filmed that. It's like, yeah, I don't blame him. There ain't no way I'd be able to film a scene like that. What I don't understand is, like, that scene did not serve a purpose. Other than Spike realizing what he did was horrible and he went to go get his soul back. Like, couldn't you have written anything else? Why did it have to go like that? Like, he was a good friend towards Buffy, pretty much. Now, granted, Spike did do some horrible things to Buffy throughout season 6. Like, he did become obsessed with her. He was kind of forcing her at a lot of times to be sexual, to have her be sexual towards him, you know. But that scene of him trying to rape her, it just didn't seem to work. And it just seemed completely out of nowhere. You know, I just don't understand. Like, you could take that scene out and it wouldn't change anything. Couldn't you thought of something else for him to do that would lead to him going to get his soul back? Why would you have him try to rape her? Like, that is just horrible. That's terrible, you know? So again, that scene should never have been filmed. It should have been cut. Never should have been allowed. It's horrible to watch. No, no, no. Now, the next thing I want to get into here is Cordelia Chase. Now, Cordelia Chase and Angel versus Buffy, they're completely separate characters. Like, Cordelia, in my opinion, she had the... If we're talking, like, Buffy, Spike, and Cordelia were the top 3 characters that had the most growth throughout the entire show. But Cordelia was only in Buffy for the first 3 seasons, and then she became a main character in the Angel spinoff. But during the first 3 seasons of Buffy, Cordelia was without a doubt one of the worst characters in the entire show. She was just an outright bully throughout the first 3 seasons, and I'm surprised the Scooby Gang let her hang around. Like, she was a terrible person throughout the first 3 seasons. Like, the only scene that I can think of off the top of my head of her being a good person was in season 3 when Buffy learns that Giles was the one drugging her and stole her powers, and she almost died because of it. And Buffy asks Cordelia if she can take her home, and then Cordelia's like, yeah, I'll take you home. That was like one of Cordy's only moments where she was genuinely a caring person, but she was just an outright bully towards Buffy, Willow, and Xander throughout the first 3 seasons. Like, again, I had the same feelings for her as I did for Xander and Willow. There were so many scenes of her just being a monster to Buffy that I just wanted a bus to run her over, you know? I just wanted a random passenger bus just to come in out of frame and just run her over. You know, it's just, those first 3 seasons, man, they were hard to get through. And she was the main reason. Like, she was just the worst. But when you go to watch the Angel spinoff, she was way better in the Angel show. But yeah, like, the way she treats Xander, Willow, and Buffy in those first 3 seasons, like, she wasn't a good person. Like, that's something that just didn't age well, was how she was those first 3 seasons. Like, saying things like, Xander, you are nothing, you know, and then being a bully to Willow, saying and doing things that were just horrible, you know, and her being a bully to Buffy, you know, it's just, man, she was just the worst. She was not a good person. And she basically faces no consequences, in my opinion, towards it. But I like how in season 3, she did at least get some karma, because she comes from a rich family. and her family weren't paying taxes or something, so they lose all the money. So she's not rich anymore, and she loses like all of her dresses and everything. So I'm glad at the very least she got some kind of karma for how she treated everybody. But yeah. But I've already talked. But yeah, Cordy, first 3 seasons of Buffy, she was the worst in my opinion, anyway. Now, another thing that I disliked was the writing for Giles during the last 2 seasons. Like, season 6 and 7, like, Giles just seemed to me very distant towards Buffy. You know, like, I just don't understand. Like, those last 2 seasons, like, their relationship just didn't really seem existent anymore. Like, season 6, like, when he took off, like, again, I think it did help the story. But I would argue it seemed a little bit out of character that he would just abandon her like that when he knows that she needs him now more than ever. I know that he wants her to figure things out on her own, but that doesn't mean you would just outright abandon her, you know? Like, that didn't make any sense. And I feel like Giles was ruined in season 7 because he was very distant towards Buffy, even more. And then he conspires with one of the other characters to try and get Spike killed. So he lies to Buffy, takes her on a, quote, training exercise, because he's trying to distract her while someone is sent to try and kill Spike. And Buffy learns about this, of course, and she basically closes the door on their relationship from that point. And I'm just like, why would you write Giles like that? This is the same guy that told Buffy back in season 2, Buffy, I'm never going to have anything negative to say towards you. You will always have my full respect, always. And then you cut to season 7, and he tells Buffy, you know, to leave, and kicks her out of her own house. Like, the writing for Giles in season 7 just did not make any sense. Like, he distracts her, lies to her, betrays her. This is not the same Giles from the first 6 seasons. Why did you write him like that? Because season 7 destroyed the relationship. Like, there was no friendship between them, in my opinion, by the time the credits were rolling on that final season. It just destroyed their relationship, in my opinion. And more bad writing on characters is the writing for Dawn. Like, I loved Dawn in season 5. I really did. But in season 6 and 7, in my opinion, she was one of the worst characters. Like, they turned her into a whiny brat, you know? And that was one of my favorite things. Like, when Willow went evil in the finale in season 6, she calls out Dawn, you know, for how whiny she is, you know. Like, I want all the attention on me. I'm glad at the very least somebody finally called her out for being a brat, you know, for the last season. Like, she gets all mad and upset at Tara for breaking up with Willow. And it's like, Dawn, Willow was brainwashing Tara. And you're going to get upset at Tara for doing the right thing by leaving Willow. Like, Dawn literally is mad. Like, Tara has been a mother figure to